Are you tired of the constant pressure to hustle, grind, and burn yourself out in pursuit of success? In today's world, we're told that the more busy we are, the better. But what if I told you that hustle culture isn't freedom? It's just a new form of modern-day slavery, disguised with glamour. In this video, we're diving into why Stoicism teaches that slowing down, focusing on what really matters, and embracing intentionality are the true paths to fulfillment. Stick around, because we're about to unpack the dangerous myth behind hustle culture and why it's time for a change. Lesson number 1. You're not that special, and that's awesome. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men of his time, constantly reminded himself of his own insignificance. In his meditations, he referred to humanity as tiny and fleeting in the vastness of the universe. This wasn't self-deprecation. It was liberation. Stoicism teaches us that recognizing our smallness doesn't diminish our worth, but rather puts our problems into perspective. Why it's stress-reducing. A lot of modern stress stems from the idea that everything is about you. You think the meeting you messed up defines your career, or that the awkward social interaction will be replayed endlessly by others. Here's the Stoic truth. Most people are too busy worrying about themselves to care about your every move. By accepting that your actions are just one part of a massive web of events, you realize that most problems aren't as significant as they feel. Traffic isn't happening to you. It's simply a byproduct of millions of people navigating their lives. Similarly, your boss's bad mood probably has nothing to do with you at all. Reframing ego to find freedom. Stoicism challenges our need to be at the center of everything. Ego often whispers that we need recognition, control, and importance, and when those things aren't fulfilled, we feel overwhelmed. The Stoics saw ego as a heavy burden that keeps us tied to stress and disappointment. Letting go of the need to be extraordinary can feel counterintuitive in a world that preaches constant achievement, but it's one of the most freeing lessons Stoicism offers. Living a life aligned with nature. The Stoics often emphasized living in harmony with nature, which includes understanding our place within the greater whole. You're a part of something vast and complex, and while your individual actions matter, they aren't the sole driving force of the universe. Realizing this allows you to align your focus with what you can influence rather than feeling overwhelmed by what you can't. Far from being depressing, acknowledging that you're not that special takes the weight off your shoulders. It removes the pressure to be perfect, omnipotent, and constantly on. Your worth isn't tied to external validation, but rather how well you align with your values and contribute meaningfully to the world around you. And once you embrace that, life becomes a lot less stressful. Lesson number 2. Control is a total scam mostly. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, saw control as the ultimate illusion. In his Enchiridion, Epictetus makes a sharp distinction between what's within our control, our thoughts, choices, and actions, and what's not, everything else, including other people's opinions, outcomes, and external events. This isn't a call to apathy, but a powerful tool for managing stress and living well. Modern obsession with micromanagement. In today's world, the desire to control has become a driving force. We obsess over every detail, career trajectories, how others perceive us, social media curation, even the tiny elements of daily life. But what happens when things don't go as planned? Anxiety, frustration, and burnout often follow. The Stoics would argue that the problem isn't the external event. It's our attachment to the idea of control. Trying to dictate outcomes in areas we have little influence over is like trying to stop the tide with a bucket. You'll exhaust yourself with little to show for it. The Stoics believed that accepting the limits of control is a healthier way to approach life, separating control from influence. One of Stoicism's greatest lessons is understanding the difference between influence and control. You might influence whether you're prepared for an exam, but you can't guarantee the grade you'll get. You can influence the direction of a conversation, but you can't control how the other person responds. This principle frees us from over-attachment to specific results while encouraging us to do our best in situations where we do have a say. Real-life examples. Imagine being stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. You don't control the traffic, but you do control your response. Stressing over the delay adds nothing productive. It simply robs you of peace. Instead, the Stoic response would be to focus on what can still be done. Use the time to think about how you'll explain your tardiness or prepare for the meeting in your mind. In relationships, people often feel immense stress when trying to fix someone else. A Stoic would recognize that while you can offer support or guidance, you cannot control the other person's decisions. Learning to detach your sense of well-being from their choices is a Stoic form of emotional freedom. The freedom in letting go. Accepting that control is largely a scam doesn't mean giving up. It means focusing your energy where it truly matters. When you stop wasting effort trying to change things beyond your grasp, you gain clarity and mental bandwidth for the things you can influence, your responses, decisions, and perspective. Instead of stressing about your boss's reaction to your presentation, focus on delivering it with confidence and clarity. Instead of trying to force success, work toward improvement and trust the process. Letting go of control doesn't weaken you. It makes you stronger because you're no longer fighting battles that can't be won. Epictetus was right. Control is a myth in most aspects of life. But recognizing this isn't a defeat, it's liberation. By focusing only on your actions and attitudes, you reclaim your energy and peace. The next time life throws a curveball, ask yourself, is this something I can truly control? If the answer is no, let it go. That's not surrender, it's Stoic wisdom in action. Lesson number 3, stop resentment. It's mental self-harm. The Stoics had little patience for lingering resentment. Seneca, in particular, wrote extensively about how anger and bitterness cloud the mind. To the Stoics, resentment is irrational. Why? Because it focuses your energy on something you cannot change, the actions or behavior of others. Holding on to grudges doesn't just hurt the person you resent. It poisons your own inner peace. Resentment from a Stoic standpoint is self-imposed mental harm. It's as if you're voluntarily carrying a heavy weight, yet expecting the other person to feel the burden. It doesn't work that way. Resentment traps you in a mental loop that keeps rehashing past events, preventing you from moving forward with clarity and purpose. Why resentment feels comfortable, but isn't helpful. Resentment can feel strangely satisfying, at least at first. It offers a sense of moral superiority or validation. They wronged me, so I'm justified in feeling this way, we tell ourselves. But here's the Stoic truth. Harboring resentment doesn't punish the other person. It only punishes you. When you dwell on past wrongs, you give power to the very people or situations that hurt you. You let them dictate your mental and emotional state. To the Stoics, this is the opposite of freedom. True freedom comes when you reclaim control over your thoughts and let go of toxic emotions. Forgiveness isn't about being noble. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, isn't about being noble or morally superior. It's a practical decision to prioritize your own mental clarity. Marcus Aurelius advises in Meditations, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil. Understanding this human nature allows you to replace resentment with empathy, or, at the very least, indifference. It's not about excusing bad behavior. It's about recognizing that holding on to anger doesn't serve your well-being. By forgiving, you're not letting the other person off the hook. You're letting yourself off the hook. Practical steps to let go of resentment. Acknowledge the emotion without judgment. The first step is recognizing your resentment. Instead of judging yourself for feeling this way or feeding the emotion with angry thoughts, observe it. Ask yourself, why am I holding on to this? What benefit am I getting? More often than not, you'll realize resentment isn't benefiting you at all. Detached from the source, Stoicism emphasizes the art of detachment. Reflect on the situation rationally. Is what happened still affecting your life today? Can you change the past? Likely, the answer is no. By acknowledging the unchangeable nature of past events, you can begin to loosen the grip of resentment. Redirect your energy. Energy spent resenting someone is energy wasted. Instead, the Stoics suggest focusing on your own growth. Channel that energy into improving yourself, achieving your goals, or cultivating relationships that bring joy and meaning. This is the true antidote to resentment. How resentment limits your freedom. The Stoics believe that freedom isn't just a physical state, but a mental one. When you allow resentment to take up space in your mind, you become a prisoner of your own thoughts. You replay the situation over and over, experiencing the hurt anew each time. Stoicism encourages us to take responsibility for our mental freedom by letting go of the thoughts that hold us back. Imagine being tied to a rock and dragging it everywhere you go. That's resentment. Cutting the rope frees you, not the rock. The bigger picture, resentment and mortality. One of Stoicism's core teachings is Memento Mori, remember that you will die. Life is too short to waste it on emotions like resentment. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. If tomorrow isn't promised, is holding a grudge really the best use of your precious time today? Letting go of resentment aligns you with what truly matters, living virtuously, cultivating inner peace, and finding joy in the present moment. Resentment doesn't serve you. It enslaves you. The Stoics teach that letting go of anger isn't about excusing bad behavior. It's about reclaiming your freedom and focusing on what truly matters. Remember, resentment is mental self-harm, but forgiveness is mental clarity. If you want to break free from this cycle, start today by choosing peace over bitterness. Lesson number 4, screw FOMO. Embrace JOMO, joy of missing out. FOMO, or the fear of missing out, is a distinctly modern affliction, but it stems from an age-old problem, misplaced priorities. Social media, advertising, and societal expectations pressure us to believe that life is happening out there, and if we're not part of every trend, party, or achievement, we're falling behind. The Stoics, however, saw life differently. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, wouldn't have cared if he wasn't invited to the latest symposium or missed out on an olive harvest celebration. For the Stoics, life was about focusing on what truly matters, virtue, purpose, and living in alignment with nature. The constant chasing of external validation or shallow experiences only detracts from inner peace. Why FOMO is a modern trap. FOMO thrives on the illusion of scarcity and comparison. Social media amplifies this by presenting curated highlights of other people's lives, making it easy to assume we're being left out of something spectacular. This creates anxiety and dissatisfaction, leading us to chase experiences we don't even value, just to avoid feeling like we're falling behind. But the Stoics remind us that external events, whether a party, a vacation, or a new trend, have no bearing on our happiness unless we assign value to them. Marcus Aurelius stated, if you are pained by an external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now. The joy of missing out. The Stoic antidote to FOMO is JOMO, the joy of missing out. JOMO is not about rejection for rejection's sake. It's about making deliberate choices that align with your values. Seneca captured this beautifully. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve your purpose, you're saying yes to something more meaningful, your growth, your peace, and your own time. Missing out isn't failure. It's an opportunity to reclaim your priorities and focus on what truly fulfills you. Practical steps to embrace JOMO. Examine your choices when faced with FOMO. Ask yourself, is this something I genuinely want, or do I just want to avoid the feeling of being left out? The Stoics emphasized self-reflection to ensure their actions aligned with their principles. If an invitation or opportunity doesn't align with your values or add to your happiness, it's perfectly fine to let it pass. Detach from external validation. FOMO is rooted in the belief that our worth is tied to participation, recognition, or appearances. Stoicism teaches us to detach from these external markers. As Epictetus said, don't aim to be consistent with others, but with yourself. Decide what's important to you and let others chase what they will. Find solitude and stillness. The Stoics valued periods of solitude to reflect on their lives and reconnect with their purpose. Modern culture might make missing out seem like loneliness, but it's actually an opportunity for stillness and introspection. Use your downtime to read, meditate, or engage in a meaningful activity, things that nourish your soul rather than distract it. Redefine success. The heart of JOMO is recognizing that success isn't about how much you do or how often you're seen. True success, according to the Stoics, is living a virtuous life, defined by wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. Missing out on superficial activities to focus on cultivating these qualities is never a loss. It's an immense gain. The freedom in letting go. When you embrace JOMO, you free yourself from the shackles of comparison and social pressure. The Stoics believed that contentment comes not from having everything, but from wanting nothing unnecessary. By letting go of the fear of missing out, you allow space for what truly matters: relationships, growth, and inner peace. Instead of spending time scrolling through social feeds, wondering what others are doing, you can invest that time into something meaningful. Instead of attending every event out of obligation or guilt, you can choose to rest, recharge, or pursue a passion. Missing out isn't a failure, it's a superpower. The Stoics would argue that the joy of missing out is one of life's greatest freedoms, the ability to choose what deserves your time and attention. Every time you say no to distractions, you say yes to your best self. So screw FOMO and embrace JOMO. You might just find the peace you've been missing all along. Lesson number 5. Your therapist isn't a sage. The Stoics were champions of self-reliance when it came to managing thoughts, emotions, and actions. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that his mind was his greatest asset, and its sovereignty was non-negotiable. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This underscores a key Stoic principle. While external tools and advice can guide you, true mastery comes from within. In modern times, therapy and self-help tools have become widely accessible, and rightly so. They're invaluable for emotional growth. But the Stoics would caution against becoming overly dependent on these external crutches. Your therapist may be wise, insightful, and skilled, but they're not a sage who can solve your problems for you. Their role is to guide, not to carry you. Ultimately, you must do the hard work of shaping your thoughts and reactions. The danger of outsourcing your mind. Modern culture often treats problems as something to be outsourced. Feeling anxious? There's an app for that. Stuck in a toxic relationship? A therapist will fix it. While these tools and experts are helpful, they're not substitutes for personal accountability. The Stoics believed that external aids should enhance, not replace, your inner work. Epictetus made this clear. Don't ask for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. This doesn't mean avoiding therapy or guidance. It means approaching these resources with the understanding that you, not the therapist or the app, are responsible for your transformation. Building resilience through ownership. The Stoic approach to mental well-being is all about cultivating resilience by taking ownership of your mind. This starts with identifying what's within your control, your thoughts, actions, and judgments. External events, opinions, and even therapeutic advice are beyond your direct influence. The sooner you focus on what you can control, the sooner you can begin to live more freely. Therapists might suggest coping strategies or guide you toward better self-understanding, but the Stoics emphasize that these strategies only work if you apply them consistently. Personal growth isn't something someone else can do for you. The more you practice taking responsibility for your mindset, the more resilient and independent you become. Practical steps to cultivate self-reliance. Create space for reflection. One of the Stoics' greatest strengths was their practice of daily self-reflection. Marcus Aurelius would journal to examine his thoughts and actions, reinforcing the idea that true wisdom comes from within. Take time each day to review your choices and attitudes. Where did you handle challenges well? Where did you falter? Develop internal disciplines. Therapy can give you tools, but Stoicism reminds you to turn those tools into habits. For example, if you've learned mindfulness techniques, make them part of your daily routine. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about consistent effort to align your actions with your values. Face discomfort head on. The Stoics believe that growth often comes through discomfort. When a therapist challenges you or when life presents an obstacle, resist the urge to avoid or deflect. Instead, see it as an opportunity to strengthen your mind and develop new skills. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, Marcus Aurelius wrote. Reclaim the power of your judgment. Stoicism teaches that external labels, failure, embarrassment, pain, have no meaning unless you assign it to them. Practice reframing negative experiences as neutral or even beneficial. This inner shift takes time, but helps you depend less on external validation or reassurance. Why your therapist isn't a sage. Therapists are incredibly valuable. They can act as a mirror, helping you see blind spots and guiding you toward healthier thought patterns. But the Stoics would argue that placing too much faith in any external authority, including a therapist, undermines your autonomy. A therapist can open the door, but you must choose to walk through it. You must be the one to take the lessons you've learned and actively integrate them into your daily life. Seneca emphasized that true wisdom is cultivated through personal effort, not by leaning too heavily on the wisdom of others. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. This means most of our mental suffering is self-created and can be self-managed. In a world obsessed with outsourcing solutions, the Stoics offer a powerful counterbalance: radical ownership. Your therapist isn't a sage, they're a partner in your journey. But you must walk the path. Cultivate resilience, practice discipline, and own your inner world. Take the tools your therapist provides, but remember, the responsibility to act, adapt, and grow is entirely your own. And that's not a burden, it's your greatest power. Lesson number 6. Death is the ultimate life coach. Memento Mori, or remember, you'll die, is one of the most profound and transformative Stoic practices. At first glance, it seems morbid or even nihilistic, but it's the opposite. It's a clarifying and empowering tool. The Stoics didn't dwell on death to inspire fear or despair, but to inject vitality and urgency into life. Marcus Aurelius put it bluntly, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Double quotes. In modern times, where death is often sanitized or ignored, the Stoic practice of facing mortality head-on can seem radical. But it's precisely this confrontation that helps us strip away trivial concerns and focus on what truly matters. Why avoiding death is avoiding life. Many people spend their days acting as if they're immortal, wasting time on things that don't serve them, pointless arguments, endless scrolling, or chasing status symbols. The Stoics would ask, what are you doing with the precious time you have? Seneca, in his essay on the shortness of life, made a stark observation. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Avoiding thoughts of death often leads to a false sense of infinite time, which in turn fosters procrastination and misplaced priorities. Facing death shatters that illusion and brings life's brevity into sharp focus. Death as a guide for priorities. When you recognize that your time is finite, life takes on a sharper edge. Ask yourself, if this were your last day, how much would that petty argument or unread email truly matter? Death, in this sense, becomes a guide. It highlights the absurdity of many daily stressors and forces you to align your actions with your deeper values. The Stoics weren't suggesting that you live recklessly, but rather intentionally. Living with the awareness of mortality isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things. Marcus Aurelius urged, don't behave as if you are destined to live forever. What's in your control is to live a good life right now. Practical Stoic exercises for embracing mortality. Visualize your own death. This might sound morbid, but it's an ancient Stoic exercise with transformative power. Imagine yourself on your deathbed, or imagine this being your final day. What regrets would you have? What unspoken words or unfulfilled goals would haunt you? Use this exercise not as a source of dread, but as motivation to prioritize what truly matters. Examine how you spend your time. Seneca reminds us that we waste an incredible amount of life on trivialities. Take inventory of your daily routine. How much of it is spent on things that bring real joy or meaning? If you knew you had less time left than you thought, what would you cut out immediately? Appreciate the present moment. Mortality doesn't just teach you to focus on the future. It also emphasizes the beauty of the present. The Stoics believed that life happens now, not yesterday or tomorrow. As Epictetus noted, it is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Death as an equalizer. Another aspect of the Stoic perspective on death is its impartiality. It spares no one, rich or poor, young or old, powerful or powerless. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the great conquerors, philosophers, and emperors of the past, noting that they all ended up the same way, gone. This reflection wasn't meant to inspire despair, but humility. It reminds us to let go of arrogance, grudges, and the endless pursuit of external validation, understanding that death comes for everyone shifts the focus to what you can control, how you live, and how you treat others. If we're all heading to the same end, isn't it better to spend our time cultivating kindness, wisdom, and peace? Mortality as motivation. While death is inevitable, its unpredictability is a gift. It keeps us on our toes. None of us know how much time we have left, and that should inspire action, not complacency. Instead of worrying about what might happen, the Stoics urge us to focus on the here and now. Don't let your reflection on the whole sweep of life crush you. Stick with the present situation and ask yourself why it's so unbearable and unendurable. Marcus Aurelius advises, living with the awareness of death can feel like carrying a stopwatch, but that urgency pushes you toward meaningful goals, deeper connections, and greater resilience. Death is not your enemy, it's your greatest life coach. It reminds you to stop wasting time on things that don't matter, to let go of grudges, and to cherish the fleeting moments of beauty and joy that life offers. The Stoics didn't see mortality as a reason to despair, but as a reason to live fully and authentically. Memento Mori isn't a call to fear death, but an invitation to embrace life. Take it. Because if death is inevitable, so is your opportunity to live with purpose right now. Lesson number 7. Hustle culture is just glamorous slavery. In today's world, there's an almost fanatical obsession with hustle culture, the idea that constant grind, endless work hours, and never stopping are markers of success and fulfillment. We wear busyness like a badge of honor, broadcasting how many hours we're working, how little sleep we're getting, and how busy we are all the time. The underlying message is that if you're not constantly in motion, you're falling behind, or worse, failing. But here's the catch. Hustle culture is the most glamorous form of modern-day slavery. We've been sold a narrative that says the more we work, the more we achieve, and by extension, the more valuable we are. But for the Stoics, the idea of constant busyness was a fool's errand. Seneca said it best, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." In other words, busyness is not a sign of success. It's a sign of losing sight of what actually matters. The more you are busy and mindlessly following every external demand, the less you're living intentionally. Hustle culture enslaves you to a false image of success while robbing you of what truly nourishes the soul. Why busy doesn't equal fulfilled. The myth we're taught is that busyness leads to meaning. We rush through our days, jumping from one project to the next, one goal to another, all in pursuit of something greater. But where does this frantic pursuit lead? The answer, often nowhere fulfilling. It's simply a distraction. The Stoics were deeply concerned about the nature of distractions. They recognized that modern life's busyness can prevent us from focusing on what truly matters. For instance, Epictetus warned, "Don't waste time on what you can't control. Take action on the things that you can." In this context, hustling after every opportunity is like running around in circles. It doesn't get us closer to the meaningful life we desire. In Stoicism, fulfillment doesn't come from how much you do or how fast you do it, but from the quality and intention behind your actions. The price of hustling, mental and emotional slavery. The toll of hustle culture isn't just physical, it's mental and emotional. The myth we're sold is that productivity and achievement are signs of success, but the Stoics argued otherwise. Constant hustle brings exhaustion, anxiety, and emotional burnout. It divides your attention between too many things, leaving little room for meaningful reflection, relationships, or personal growth. The desire to constantly do more feeds into feelings of inadequacy, this ever-present sense that you're never quite enough. In contrast, Stoic philosophy teaches that true happiness and peace come not from doing more, but from wanting less, focusing on the essential, and simplifying your life. As Seneca famously said, "A fool is one who follows a life of constant movement, chasing empty things." It's not work that leads to happiness. It's peace, simplicity, and purpose. When you're entrapped by hustle culture, you're caught in an endless cycle of proving your worth to the world, always running just to stay in place. The Stoic approach, however, is one of introspection and purpose-driven action, not mindless productivity, redefining success from busyness to intentionality. The Stoic wisdom here is clear. Success isn't about how busy you are or how much you achieve in a given time frame. Rather, true success lies in the alignment of your actions with your values. Marcus Aurelius, reflecting on his own experiences as an emperor and a Stoic, made a powerful observation. It's not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. This isn't about rejecting hard work. It's about rejecting the need to be constantly hustling just to feel worthy or to fit into an external measure of success. The Stoics weren't afraid of hard work when necessary. Instead, they focused on doing the right work at the right time, with intention and care. They advised focusing on life's true goals, inner peace, virtue, wisdom, and resilience, rather than external markers of achievement. Ask yourself, are you working to fill a void or to prove something? Or are you working to live a life of integrity and purpose? These are the key questions Stoicism urges you to ask. Practical Stoic exercises to escape the hustle trap. Identify your values, not your busy schedule, rather than fill your day with an endless to-do list driven by external pressures. Take time to clarify what truly matters to you. Spend a day or week analyzing your activities and your work. Are they aligned with your values? Do they move you toward the person you want to be? Or are they distractions or expectations you've internalized? Embrace rest as a form of productivity. The Stoics understood the importance of rest and rejuvenation as part of a fulfilling life. Seneca even wrote about the need for a quiet retreat to recharge your mind and spirit. Yet, in today's world, rest is often seen as laziness or failure. In reality, the ability to pause, reflect, and reset your mind is one of the most important aspects of a healthy, productive life. Remember, you aren't a machine. You need time to restore your energy in order to perform your best. Focus on essentialism. Adopt the principle of essentialism. Prioritize tasks that bring value and move you closer to your purpose, and eliminate everything else. The Stoics were minimalist in this regard, always questioning whether a given action would serve their deeper goals. By simplifying your life, you can clear the noise and focus on what truly makes you fulfilled. Practice mindful work, not mindless hustle. Hustle culture pushes people into automatic, reactive modes where everything feels urgent. Stoicism advocates for mindful work, bringing full presence, intent, and focus to everything you do. Whether it's a task at your job, spending time with family, or pursuing a passion, approach each activity with intention and excellence, not hurried efficiency. Hustle culture may look glamorous from the outside, but in reality, it's a form of mental slavery, a relentless pursuit of external validation at the cost of inner peace. The Stoic way to live is to reject the constant need for busyness, to step away from societal pressure, and to live with intention. True freedom comes from learning to work only for what truly matters, allowing space for your mind to find peace, and seeking fulfillment in what is truly essential, not what's fashionable or expected. Stop trying to do everything, and start focusing on the things that actually add value to your life. In doing so, you'll step out of the hustle and into a life filled with purpose, clarity, and peace. This is the Stoic approach, and it might just be the antidote you need to escape the trap of hustle culture. So, before you get caught up in that never-ending hustle, take a moment to ask yourself, what really matters? True success isn't about how busy you are. It's about living with purpose and making intentional choices. If you're ready to reject the pressure of hustle culture and take control of your life the Stoic way, hit that subscribe button and join us on the journey to real freedom. Don't forget to like this video and share it with anyone who needs to hear this message. Remember, you don't have to hustle to be happy, but you do need to live deliberately. See you next time.